All right, this match review comes to us from a repeat submitter. This is Lifeblood from last week, back again with another Xenomorph match. They have they just put sub 20 hours again. They said they had a miscellaneous amount of hours on a different platform, but we don't know what that is. So it's clear that they have more than 20 hours just based on like how they play, but we still don't have the other half of that equation. Like I said, they are playing the Xenomorph again, which is the character that I main. B tier at best, C plus tier at worst. Very high skill floor character as well. Not highest in the game by any means, but moderately difficult to get into. Also, as I've been about all day, buggy, clunky, that sort of thing. Falls aren't honest, but thank you. Very much appreciate it. Very buggy and clunky, and like I said, not even necessarily that strong of a killer either, so it's a rough one to play in the big 2026. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be on this time because they literally put an apology in the match review text of like, sorry. So I would imagine not, but yeah, they're on Mount Ormond, which used to be a fairly like kind of back and forth map. It used to be like fairly, I wouldn't say fairly balanced. It was like it's only slightly erred on survivor sided, but like nowadays it's a little bit more significantly survivor sided because of the palette density update, which once again, like I was saying in the rant, kind of the app sesh that we had before this, it's getting harder to give advice in the match reviews because like this is one of the things that I say like almost every single match review now. It's like, hey, this map used to be fine, but now palette density makes it ass. Like I say that every single match review now. Thanks. Thanks, game. But anyways, gotta call it out is though, Mount Ormond used to be kind of like more slightly survivor sided because of a big main building, very good for balanced landing. The main building cuts up a lot of the map in a way that's pretty beneficial for survivor and makes it hard for the killer to traverse in pressure. But say the line, Bart, palette density made it far more survivor sided, so even though it used to be relatively fair, it's really not anymore. So take a look at your rounds and your perks overall. You're using a lot of the learning perks that and add-ons that I've talked about for Xenomorph, so that's interesting. So for the add-ons, you're using what I recommend to be the two best learning add-ons for Xenomorph, that being Zero Rations and Overmore. Zero Rations allows you to see turrets from the tunnels, and that aura lingers a little bit when you get out. This allows you not only see where survivors like to place turrets, so you learn general turret placement, but it also allows you to already start forming a plan to deal with turrets, which is something you should do as this character. And then we have Overmorph, which is a add-on that gives you your power back 20% faster when you're outside the tunnels. Obviously, you're probably going to lose your power when you're first learning Xenomorph, even if you're trying your best to deal with the turrets, just because you're not used to it yet. But Overmorph will help with that. We have, for your build, you're using Whispers and Nurses, which is two perks I recommend to starting to learn the Xenomorph, specifically how to get the most out of the tunnels. Since if you're using Whispers and you're in the tunnels and Whispers flicks on, you know to start looking up and looking around for information. Nurses is in a similar vein. If somebody's healing above you, you can see that while looking up in the tunnels. So it helps you kind of like train you to be taking advantage of that base kit information. Deadlock, or No Holds Barred in this case, same perk, different name, is there just this kind of like a slowdown that goes burr without any sort of input on your end. Iron Grasp is not really a good perk. Realistically, you should be using Agitation. It's better in every way, and that's on the very first killer Trapper. So Iron Grasp is really just kind of not too fantastic. I wouldn't, unless you're doing like a funny backpack build, I wouldn't recommend using Iron Grasp in any situation ever. Just use Agitation if you're looking for a similar effect. Also, I'm going to do this. All right. The only thing I would really switch out here is Iron Grasp. Anyways, match. Life forever. Okay. You're not seeing info, so you're not popping out, which is good. You see a turret placed at the edge of the map. I don't think you see it. There you go. Took you. No, you're not looking for it. The whole point of bringing cereal rations is so you can see where turrets are placed, and you've looked in the direction of a turret 3 times and not seen it. You're going to be a little behind in your pressure here. You do find a lot of survivors here, though. You could have got that, but you hesitated. You got Shack at 5, though, so that's nice. Bet the pallet did from that far. I think they messed up the pallet. The pallet range, the which you can get stunned. When you're tail attacking a Xenomorph, you should be strafing. So it's kind of like Nemesis, where it's not just like a single hitbox. It's a hitbox that follows wherever your tail goes. So you should be moving like left to right whenever you're tail attacking to cover as much space as possible. Oh, they hit you with that move. Bada boom. Dude, people were so scared of this perk when it first came out, and then they just like, nobody ever used it. You also, you know, you can move while you're tail attacking, right? I noticed a lot of the time when you're tail attacking, you'll like stop moving, which is interesting. You don't have to do that. You can move and tail attack at the same time. That was a good attempt. Once again, you're like, this is going to be your #1 takeaway for this. Now that I've noticed it, you do not have to solidly stop to tail attack. If anything, you're losing a lot of distance by doing that. Because technically, Xenomorph's tail attack is like 4.8 meters, but you get kind of like this quote-unquote artificial range by holding W and moving forward as you're tail attacking, so you technically cover more distance. The range of the attack is the same, but you technically cover more distance doing that. And you're just losing out on that entirely. Because you just stop every time you go for a tail attack. See, it's weird because you're not doing it here. It's like, it's very inconsistent. Where you're like, stop, start, stop, start. I don't even know if it's something you're consciously aware of, maybe? Yeah, because you're not doing it there. Are you that afraid of getting stunned? Because that's its own issue, too, if you're, like, terrified of getting stunned. Because, like, it's better if you risk it and potentially get the hit on the survivor, even if you do get stunned, than just not get stunned at all. But even then, there was one time you did it and you weren't in a potential of getting stunned, so maybe it's just an issue in general. Yeah, you could have tail attacked her there. Yeah, you're not really strafing the tail attack that much. Oh, I don't know if you're even aware it's a thing at this point. Because there's a lot of instances where it'd be helpful and that one would like cost you nothing to do it, but you're not doing it at all. I would not try to look around for this slug. Because like he was slugged so long ago, you're gonna have no clue where this guy is. He could be literally anywhere. You could 2-for-1 combo there, but I don't think you're at that point yet. So I'm gonna mention it just for the sake of like technicality. It's like you could technically do that, but I don't think you're at that point if you're not even like strafing a whole lot yet. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. What are you doing? Just kind of like wandering around. What do you mean, okay, question mark? You just gotta like wander around back and forth, got confused. There's a noise notification somebody did, but like just because you didn't see it, I would you like wander around and do nothing. Survivor, there's a right choice. That's not what I'm talking about. You can strafe and hit both. They could have got both there. If you strafe over the turret first and then hit the survivor, you can get both at the same time. That's what I was referring to. Because the Xenomorph's tail attack, in terms of its hitboxes, don't deactivate unless you hit a survivor or an object. And turrets do not count as objects. In terms of, like, stopping the tail attack. The Union was a bad beat, but she doesn't have any hook states. It was this bill, technically. Yeah, you gotta stop, like, stopping dead in your tracks when you tail attack. That's cost you a lot of time and chase. Yeah, there's unfortunately a collision there. It doesn't look like it, but there is. Yeah, at this point of the game, like, you need to be chasing people that you've already hooked. Not fresh survivors. I think I've officially, like, moved my, like, the advice I give up to, like, 3 guns. You need to start, like, are they a controller? Nope. You need to start, looking to focus the same survivors around 3 gens. You guys just go too fast these days. I think one of the minor things that doesn't seem like it's a big deal is you waste a lot of time when you play the game. Like, you spend a lot of time stopping and staring around, whether you're in the tunnels, you're up top, like, you spend a lot of time just kind of, like, chilling. And I think that, like, once or twice, it's like you're just trying to get your bearings or whatever. But, like, if you're, like stopping and, like, whatever you're doing and looking around, like, you're completely, like, cutting off your own momentum and wasting time. Which, like I said, if it happens once or twice, who cares? It's only, like, what, 2 or 3 seconds, if that. But if you're doing that, like, constantly, you're adding, like 2 to 4 seconds of just wasted time, like, constantly, which adds up. DBD is, at the end of the day, a game of time management. So if you're constantly just, like, abruptly stopping to look around constantly, like, you're wasting a bunch of time doing that. Okay, so you know 2 people are there at the very least. Why did you do that? I am. Won't be here. Yeah, you're chasing fresh survivors when you should be going after the same survivors. It's going to cost you the game. And you just gave up chase with somebody just to go kick a gen. When you kick a generator, it only does 5% damage. It doesn't do a whole lot. Sure, it starts at regressing, but the odds that a survivor will come in and immediately, like, unregress it and get it back to just fine is very, very high. So leaving an entire chase just to go what I like to call dry kick a gen, because, like, you don't have pop goes the eruption, you don't have pop goes the eruption. I made this mistake last time too. For some reason I've been calling it pop goes the eruption a lot. You know what, pop goes the weasel. You don't have eruption. You don't have any sort of kick perk that's, like, really strong that you can deliver there, so there's no reason to, like, leave a whole chase just for that. Broken goes the weasel. It does sound badass. It does. Yeah, it's like another thing is you brought CO rations to see where people are placing turrets, which ergo gives you an idea of where the survivors are. And I don't think you've looked at it and made a decision off of where you've seen a turret placed one time this entire game. Which is like kind of the point of why I make people, if they're learning Xenomorph, run CO rations, whispers, nurses, that sort of thing. It's like, I want you to start paying attention to all the info you're getting, but you're not. You're not paying attention to almost any of the info you're getting, which is why you're like spending so much time looking around and stopping and starting like really confused, because you have 3 things that are giving you info. Occasionally Deadlock will also be giving you info, and you're like not really looking at your info at all. So you've brought 3 things that give you info and you're not paying attention to it at all. Just not good. Now that's always a hard one to diagnose, because I don't know why you're not paying attention. Could be playing with your headphones off, you're playing on speakers, you could be playing with music on, like you could be checking your phone in between games or in the middle of the game. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that could be, that's kind of on you to figure out. But regardless, you're not really paying attention, unfortunately. I do prefer this to stay on Jane here because she is, it's IV hooked already. She's super fast, is she? Didn't look like it to me. Yeah, I'm not really surprised at that result. At this point, I don't think there's really much you can do to bring back this game. Kind of their game to throw, unfortunately. I would just go camp the person that you have on hook. Oh, too late now because you've already committed a chase with somebody else. I would slug that. Go after her, yeah. You could get a kill on the board, maybe. Yeah, she's not fast per se. Like, there she has haste from being off hook, but like they're also going for the tail attack like way far back. They don't know the range of the tail attack really, which I think was I think this was a takeaway I did last time too, but could be wrong. I think there isn't, like, besides not going for survivors they've hooked already, there's not, like, a really glaring mistake. This is one of those, like, death by 1,000 cuts where there's just, like, a lot of really little mistakes that are, like, adding up over time. I think I understood what was happening. I think I know now why you're just, like, frantically snapping your head around. I think what's happening, and I could be wrong because I'm just now, like, clocking it, I believe, is that, like, you're seeing whispers turn on, and you almost take whispers turning on as, like, a... Oh, you know, like, you're like, somebody's around me! And it's like, well, technically, yes, but, like, whispers' range is fairly large. So, like, just because you hear whispers does not mean that somebody is immediately, like, right next to you. It means that somebody is in your area. Somebody is vaguely around you, which means it's time to start paying more attention because somebody is for sure here. It's a confirmation, not like a, it's not something immediate. It's just a confirmation that, yeah, somebody is vaguely in this area of the map. It's not like somebody's right beside you. Somebody's right beside you. It's like, that is unfortunately not what it is. So if that's the reason you're stopping and staring around frantically, either way, even if that's like the reason you're doing that, once again, you got to keep your momentum. Just the same thing with the advice with the tail attack. Just because you hear whispers turn on does not mean we stop whatever we're doing. We just stand still, we lock down, and we stop doing anything until we know what to do. We got to keep the momentum going. Often in DBD, it's better to like keep your momentum rolling and make like a not so great decision. As opposed to like not doing anything at all. Because at least there's like something that we can take away from that and it could potentially work out. But if you're doing nothing, you're objectively just not affecting the game at all. So not wise. This is why you don't 99 doors in 2026, by the way. Bill just found out. This door 99, you are kind of up a creek without a paddle. I would recommend chasing this Yunjin, praying she doesn't have deli, and hooking her very far away from either of the doors. Probably the best bet you have here. Because with him being hooked right next to that door, they're getting out. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You just gotta grab Yunjin and hook her really far away from the doors. And hope she doesn't have deli. For some reason that doesn't deactivate in the end game. I would just stay by her. Globetrotting won't help you here. Wow, they have the store open too. That's rough. Yeah, you really, in the end game, you are very, I don't know if it's ambition or what, but you just like hook people and just like leave them. Which is why they're just unhooking and leaving out from under you. You really should be camping them in that scenario. Okay. I don't know why she's letting you do that. But hey, it's a free down. Yeah, I don't know why she did that either. Like taking the first hit there. Maybe she just had faith that that flashlight save would hit. She was really banking that her boy Bill would get the save. You should have just had one there. You had that. Wait, why didn't he leave? Oh my gosh. They somehow threw this and it became a 3K. You had what? I don't mean this as any offense to you. You had what? Like, by the time the gens completed? By the time the gens completed, I think everybody was alive. Yeah, they had everybody alive by when all the gens were finished. And somehow that snowballed into a 3K because of their own mistakes. Brother. that frustrates me. Hi, Thomas. I'm okay. I'm living. Still my darndest. All right, so in terms of your main takeaways, there are a lot, which may make you panic, but do not worry because that's a lot of things you can improve on. A lot to work on, which is nice. First off, a big thing is when you're tail attacking with the Xenomorph, you can keep momentum going. And you seem to somewhat understand this, but not very solidly. And you absolutely should keep going when you tail attack. You shouldn't stop moving. A lot of the times when you go for tail attacks as the Xenomorph, you're stopping dead in your tracks. Like I said in the middle of the match review, while the tail attack is only 4.8 meters, you can kind of have like this artificial range to it because you can move your body while you're sending the attack so you can cover more distance. Whenever you don't do that, you're losing on that distance and ergo losing on hits. And this happened so much this game that a lot of your chases would have been a lot quicker. Second, your tail attack, you should be strafing it as much as possible. So you should be moving left to right to try and cover as much distance as possible while throwing your tail attack. Like Nemesis, your tail attack hitboxes do not, it's not just one hitbox that ends, it's multiple that continue until the animation is over. So you should be covering a wide swath of space by strafing from left to right to left, wherever it happens to be best for the loop that you're at. But you should be moving with your tail attack and covering more distance instead of turning it like a single shot projectile, because that is not what it is. Third, speaking of stopping and standing still in place, you do this a lot when you seem like you don't know where to go in the match. You will just kind of like freeze up and stand still, which is fine every once in a while if you're feeling a little anxious, but you were doing it like extremely frequently. So that time is adding up in the background. It's better to commit to a plan that's not so great than doing nothing at all. So you got to keep that momentum going. You got to stop freezing in place whenever you're going for a tail attack, whenever you don't know where to go. You got to keep the momentum going. You cannot leave that time on the table. Fourth main takeaway, you bring 3 different things on your build between perks and add-ons that give you info, but I don't think you really looked at any of them or really reacted to much of any of them more than like a handful of times. Especially Zero Rations with the turret auras. I don't think you reacted to a single turret aura or made a decision off of a single turret aura the entire game. The reason that I recommend people to run Whispers, Nurses, or Zero Rations when learning this character is because it's supposed to teach you that, hey, while I'm in the tunnels and I look up, I can get a lot of info. So Whispers and Nurses are there to help you kind of like, you know, accentuate that ability and learn to get used to it. Same thing with Zero Rations, in addition to helping you how to learn how to deal with turrets. But if you're just going to ignore that information and not act on it, it might as well you played this match with just Iron Grasp, Overmorph, and Deadlock, and that's it, which is not too great. So make sure if you're running a lot of perks or add-ons that have to do with info, whether that be auras or whatever happens to be, that you actually act on said auras, or else it might as well be worth not bringing the perks or items at all. Hi, Weskerman. Hopefully you're well. Thank you for the lurk as well, UVX. I think 5, and this is probably the one that like was probably the most objective like gameplay affecting thing in the match, is that like as the match progresses down, so once you're around 2 to 3 gens, you need to start focusing on survivors that you've already hooked. Gens are just like frankly too fast these days for you to be able to play nice and start chasing people who have 0 hooks at like 2 or 3 gens. You got to keep the pressure rolling by focusing the same survivors that you've already hooked before. Instead of doing this around 2 gens, you started chasing like Bill and other people that you had not hooked yet, and as a result you could have had somebody out of the game far earlier, but you didn't, which meant that you kind of had to scramble in the end game and hope they messed up, which thankfully they did. Thankfully they made mistakes and you were able to turn it into a 3K. But we teach consistency here at the Mr. Edic Studios. We do not rely on the mistakes of our opponents. We teach good habits that will consistently get us wins. That's what we like to do. So try to get somebody out of the game, or at least focus the same people, the same 2-ish people, until they're out of the game. When you start getting that 2 to 3 gen margin, because the gens are just frankly too fast to kind of mess around from that point on. So you gotta lock in. But instead of locking in, you kind of started going lax, which is the opposite, and that puts you in a pretty stressful situation that you almost didn't come back from. Yeah, I know that's a lot of takeaways, but all these things need work. So hopefully you can use that to help you. Once again, don't be stressed about it. Don't panic. You're like, oh, I got a lot of takeaways. I must have done really bad. No, that just means there's a lot that you can learn right now. There's 5 opportunities to improve and get better. So